And now to discuss this, we're joined via Zoom a public affairs analyst, Oladipo Ajayi. He's also the head of fixed income and FX at Chapel Hill, Durham. Thank you so much for coming on, Oladipo. We're pretty much pressed for time, but to get started, let's look at the economic impact, right? How has the removal of fuel subsidies impacted the overall cost of living for the average Nigerian? Have there been any significant changes in, transportation and, household expenses?
Well, thank you very much for having me on this morning. If we want to look at the first subsidy removal, I think that has put so much pressure on average Nigerian over time. Both the rich and the poor are actually feeling the impact of the removal of subsidy. If you remember vividly, it was moved from 165 naira to around 600 naira where we're currently buying, and that's close to about 300% increase. And between then and now, there has not been that level of increment in the take home to most people. So as a result, this actually impacted household negatively. When you compare where we were to where we are currently. And but one thing that also needs to mention is the fact that it's actually a necessary evil at a particular point in time, but maybe the timing and the dimension at which the government handled the issue. And I think that's what a lot of people would have criticized, not about the fact that we all know that we have to get to a level where that subsidy needs to go because we can't continue to consume our future. When you pay close to about 7 trillion of subsidy and there's no good road, you pay 7 trillion of subsidy, there's no good school, there's no good infrastructure, there's no good medical care, there's no good health system. Some of these things are things that we're actually consuming. So we are not adverse to the fact that subsidy has to go. Maybe the dimension of the removal and the aftermath effect that the government did not actually plan very well. And I think that is where the concern lies.
So away from, fuel subsidy removal, there's also an increased electricity tariffs, right? Let's talk about the effects. What effects have the increased electricity tariffs had on both urban and rural households? And are there noticeable differences in how, various socioeconomic groups are coping with this change in tariff?
Well, increase in tariff, you look at it critically for selected few, and up to now, the federal government still pays subsidy for people within the band B to the lower cadre of the band. Currently, it's only people that are actually operating within the band A that are actually paying the reflective price of electricity in the country. And for a great extent, I think that if you look at the books of some of these discos as well, a lot of them are actually going through tough time. A lot of them are heavily indebted to banks, and they have been one way or the other bottled up by NERC on the level of tariff that they can charge. And if you look at this tariff that we are talking about, in this same amount that they've been charging for a long time, and they've not seen a considerable increase. And when you look at some of the input cost to the production of electricity, you have an element of FX charge around it, and most of them have not been able to actually import that out or to make the price reflective of that impact. So on the part of that, I think to a great extent, is not everybody that is feeling the heat currently. I think it's just selected few, and I doubt the selected few. And that they are up to 10% of the total population of the country. So for electricity tariff, I think that the government still needs to actually look at it critically. This is not a good time for you to actually want to yank that off the table. You need to ease people out of it. We understand the fact that for us to have consistent power supply, people need to pay, but at the same time, people need to see the value of what they are paying for, and that's other side of the coin that we also need to look at. So, all in all, I think it's not a bad policy per se, because it's just to tell people that actually enjoy the fullness of that. Because look at people in the rural area, they are not so much enjoying this electricity, but yet the government is actually subsidizing heavily. It simply means that the government, to a great extent, is subsidizing the rich at the expense of the poor. So I feel that it's not totally out of play, but the government needs to find a way where you need to ease people into it by maybe removing the subsidy in a percentage. So a great extent, you can start maybe from 50%, then move to 75%, then at the time you can now remove it totally. But let people actually ease people into it. And don't also forget that you also need to increase people's standard of living before actually throwing that around.
Oladipo, many thanks for coming on. Appreciate you for doing this with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.